video, I'm going to be reading like Jess from Gilmore Girls. If you didn't know, I have a series here on my channel where I read like fictional characters. The first character I did was Spencer Hastings from Pretty Little Liars, and you guys really seem to enjoy that. So here I am with part 2. If you guys want to check out that video, I'll link it in the cards and down below. I asked you guys to help me choose which character to do next, and I got tons of requests for me to do Jess from Gilmore Girls, so here we are. Now, even if you haven't watched the Gilmore Girls, you can still enjoy this video because I'll be explaining everything in detail so you guys will be able to understand. There will be some mild spoilers for the series, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you can just head out of this video and make sure to catch me next time. So the idea for the series came to me while I was watching Pretty Little Liars. There was a scene where one of the girls was holding a book, and I wondered if the book was only being used as a prop or if it held any meaning to that particular scene. So I really wanted to put this experiment to the test to find out if the book was only being used to make the scene more casual and seem less staged, or if someone had paid attention to that very small detail and made sure that that exact book they were holding would mean something to this series. So this is how this video will work. I will first explain who Jess is as a character for you guys that don't know him or don't remember. And then I'll talk about in which scene the book was shown, what the book is about, if Jess would actually enjoy reading this book, in my opinion, and if the book meant anything to that scene, again, in my opinion. So Gilmore Girls follows Lorelai and Rory, this mother-daughter duo who live in a very small town called Stars Hollow. Jess's character is introduced in season 2, and he is represented as the cliché bad boy. He is extremely intelligent, quick-witted, and he's interested in arts and literature, but he's not academically motivated. He is considered a rebel to the small town because he talks very openly about drugs, alcohol, sex, and having to support himself. Just before we get started and talking about the books, can we take a moment to appreciate my outfit? I bought this shirt that has Rory and Jess in it, which is so cute, and I made these earrings that are little Luke's mugs, so I just had to show that off. I'm really proud of this outfit. Let's talk books.
You can't hold the wheel, you're driving. The person who's driving has to hold the wheel. That's the first thing they teach you in driver's ed.
I gotta take that class one of these days. Take the wheel.
Jess.
So the first book I'm going to be talking about was shown in season 2, episode 5, and here's the scene.
So what are you doing now?
I have some homework to finish.
Okay, then I'll leave you this last little trick.
You bought a copy? I told you I'd lend you mine.
It is yours.
You stole my book.
No, borrowed it.
Okay, that's not called a trick, that's called a felony.
I just want to put some notes in the margins for you.
What? You've read this before.
About 40 times.
I thought you said you didn't read much.
Wow, what is much?
As you saw from that quick snippet, Jess returns the book Howl to Rory after having stolen it from her bookshelf, and he returned it filled with annotations. So howl is what the title says. A howl of a young man. It's a howl of a young man who is disgusted by the culture he finds himself in. It's a poem of noise, unsettling themes and images. Ginsberg wanted Howl to express the pent-up frustration and self-destruction of this generation. A generation that he felt was being controlled by a dominant American culture. So this is what the book is about. It's in a poem form, and I don't know if I'm dumb or if this poem is extremely hard to get through. I found this to be kind of confusing at times, and I was a little bit overwhelmed, so props to you, Jess, for actually reading this. So would Jess actually enjoy reading this book? We know he read it over 40 times in the series, but did he actually enjoy his time while reading this? In my personal opinion, yes. Howl is exactly the kind of book a teen boy would want to read. Ginsberg has a very strong, horny teenager with unrequired crush energy, so I feel like it would fit Jess's personality really well. This book also talks about this author's life and some struggles he went through and some adventures he went through, and I do feel like Jess was add some of these adventures to his bucket list to maybe one day do it in the future. Again, as this is a poem of noise and very weird images, it's very different from the poems that were being written in that time. It has a shock factor, just like Jess does. Jess is different from the people in Stars Hollow, and people notice that very easily. So I feel like he would be able to identify himself in this poem and in this book. Now, does this book hold any meaning to the series? I think so too. As this is the first book that Rory and Jess share on the show, the directors had to pay really close attention in what book to choose. So they had to think of a book to choose, and they came up with Howl. There's a reason for that. By letting Jess steal this book and return it with annotations, it shows that there's more to Jess than what meets the eye. And for a girl like Rory, stealing this book and returning it with notes on the margins was the grandest of any romantic gestures ever. So Howl starts this relationship between Rory and Jess, and in my personal opinion, it made sense to choose this book. It fit the scene and it just worked. So yeah, this was my opinion of Howl. I think it made sense in the series, and the director definitely got it right.
Go.
Oh, jeez, man. She's not shipping off to Nam.
You so need to shut up now.
The next book I'm going to be talking about is Franny and Zoe. Franny and Zoe was featured in season 2, episode 15 of the series. They didn't show the actual copy of this book, but Jess does mention it. So here's a scene, and I'll give the backstory in a minute.
Hey,
Hey.
did you get lost?
No, I was looking at Rory's books.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to see if she had Franny and Zoe. She does.
Okay,
I was gonna get it for her if she didn't.
that's very nice of you.
Yeah. Okay, so I should probably get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the spoilers come in. So right now, Rory is dating Dean, and he gives her a bracelet. Rory lost the bracelet because Jess stole it. After he sees how desperate she is, he goes back into her room and leaves the bracelet underneath her bed so she can find it easily. Problem is, Lorelai, Rory's mother, comes in and sees Jess there, and he has to come up with an excuse. The excuse he comes up with is, oh, I was just wondering if Rory had Franny and Zoe on her shelf, and she does. Again, this scene stuck with me because this book was in the actual script. Someone thought of this particular book for that scene, and I had to read it to find out what made this book fit into Jess's apology. So I was wondering if Jess just thought of any book ever and was like, oh, I was just wondering if that book was in her shelf, or think so, because he would really identify with one of the characters of this book, Zoe. So I did have a super easy time seeing Jess not only enjoy reading about this character, but relate to this character. Both of these characters have a sense of arrogance, but Jess will mature later on in the series, whereas Zoe does not. That's why I feel like Jess would really enjoy this book. Does it mean something to the series? Yes. I feel like Rory and Franny are extremely similar in this book. There's a lot of Franny and Lane, Franny's boyfriend, in Rory's and Dean's eventual breakup. Franny is always trying to convince herself that she's in love with Lane, and that's exactly what Rory does. Rory is trying to tell herself over and over how she can't be falling for this like bad boy. She's in love with Dean. So this character really reminded me with Rory's issues, falling out of love with Dean and moving on. Also, I think Jess tried to send a hidden message to Lorelai with choosing this book. When she asked him what he was doing there, he tried to tell Lorelai that eventually Rory would end up with him because she is falling out of love with Dean and she's becoming interested in someone else. Lorelai, however, did not get that clue and was just upset that he was there. Obviously, I don't blame her, but I feel like Jess kind of hinted at it, and that's why he chose this book. He wanted to let Lorelai know that it wouldn't make a difference if she liked him or not. He would end up with Rory one day, and that she just would have to accept it. So I really like this slight detail on that scene. I feel like it was so interesting, and it was so fun to read this book and try to find something that would relate into the series, and I'm so glad it again had something to do with the series. So the directors are on fire.
So Rory tells me you're part of the Walmart Corporation.
Only out of necessity.
They sound like wonderful stores.
Oh yeah, I want to be buried there.
And the last book I have to talk about, sadly, was shown in season 3, episode 20. So we move forward a little bit.
Hey,
Hey,
can I sit?
sure, sit.
You'll call me?
Yeah, I'll call you.
Hard for me to find out which book he was holding, but I was able to do it, and it was 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So let me give you a little backstory of that scene. Jess is planning on running away and leaving Stars Hollow after he had a fight with Luke, and he's just not being able to understand his emotions, and things aren't going really well with Rory, so he just wants to leave and abandon everyone. And he actually meets Rory on the bus where he's actually leaving, but he doesn't warn Rory, he doesn't tell her, and in the end we can see him picking up his bag filled with clothes. That actually means he's moving on and going somewhere else. So let's talk about this book. This book follows 7 generations of a family. This is a generation story, and we follow all of these people who live in a secluded town as well. Now, would Jess enjoy this book? I personally think he would have been very amused by the magical elements in this book. This book features realistic and unrealistic things happening. So, for example, one boy is born with a pigtail, a girl eats cement. But like, we have all of those very interesting details, and I feel like Jess would have a blast reading those, and he would find it super, super funny. So I feel like Jess would have enjoyed this book. Now, do I think it meant something to the series? Absolutely. Even though this book was super chunky, it was super easy to find out why they chose this book for him to hold while he was leaving the town, because there's a character in this book that actually abandons the town without warning anyone as well. But he later on returns, and spoiler alert, Jess does too. This was really interesting, and it meant that someone read this book, knew about this character, and was like, this makes sense, make him hold it, people are going to understand this. Another reason why I felt like this book would mean something to the series is because this book is extremely complicated. You have to pay attention to every single detail, or else you'll miss the story and you'll just be lost. We have characters with the same names in different lines, so it's very hard to understand if you're not paying attention. And this book would definitely force Jess to pay attention, even though he's feeling like this turmoil of emotions inside. While he's leaving the town, he picked this book up so that he could focus on something and forget about the world. Another thing that makes super sense is that all the characters, even though they have such a huge family, they all feel extremely lonely. And Jess does too. He doesn't relate to anyone in this town except Rory. He doesn't feel loved, he doesn't feel needed, and that's one of the reasons why he runs away. So he could definitely relate to all of these characters. I feel like this small detail was super well done, because if you had read this book and if you saw Jess's situation on the TV show, you would immediately understand and just connect those dots and understand what Jess was feeling in a deeper level. Jess doesn't really express his emotions that well. He keeps it to himself, so you can definitely see all of his emotions by the books he's reading. And I feel like if you knew what this book was about, you could definitely understand what was going on Jess's mind. So yeah, you guys, this was the second episode of Reading Like Fictional Characters, this wonderful series here on my channel. Please let me know which characters you want me to do next. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down below if you know any other books Jess has read, or if you have any thoughts for yourself. Again, these are my personal opinions. It doesn't mean that I'm right. This was just an experiment.